Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of being a single parent? You are not alone. Welcome to Single Parent Reset, the podcast that helps you navigate the ups and downs of single parenthood and find the balance that you deserve. Whether you're a single parent, co-parent or solo parent, this is the show for you. I'm Orla and I'm a life coach for single parents and a single parent myself. I know how hard it can be, but I believe every single parent has the strength to create a life that they are proud of. For more information about me and the work that I do, please visit my website solascoaching.com. That is SOLAS coaching.com. In each episode of this podcast, we'll be shining a light on the unique struggles single parents face and cover the aspects of being a single parent that are often overlooked and left unspoken. I'll be sharing actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges and find more calm and fulfillment in your life. Single Parent Reset is your weekly opportunity to gain a fresh perspective, take back control, and feel more in charge of your journey. I want to give a huge thank you for all the amazing messages I received off of the back of last week's episode with Emer Draper, the dating coach. Oh my God, it was great to hear your stories and how much you enjoyed it. So thank you so much for the feedback. And if there's any other guests that you would like for me to have on, please get in touch with me and let me know. And also, as always, please can you make sure you are reviewing and subscribing to this podcast wherever you're listening to it, because it really helps with the podcast. Moving on now to this week's episode. Anger and rage can feel overwhelming. But what if they're actually trying to tell you something? In this episode, we're going to explore what's actually going on in your head when anger takes over, how to uncover unmet needs behind it, and practical strategies to manage those emotions with curiosity and compassion. Single parenthood comes with a whole host of factors that can fuel feelings of anger and rage. Factors such as managing a household on our own, we're parenting alone. You could be navigating co-parenting relationships, financial worries, feeling like you're not enough, comparing yourself to others, and having no time for self-care. The list goes on and on. It's so easy to see with all of these factors going on, it is just a melting pot for single parents to have their needs not met, feel like their boundaries are being walked all over, and they are just not in control, all driving them towards feelings of anger. And it's not a personal failing, it's an absolutely natural response to an incredibly demanding situation. We're going to explore how to recognise the triggers of anger, understand what's actually driving it, and take the steps to regain some control with compassion and clarity. Now, normally in every episode, I share a specific story about a time the podcast topic showed up in my life. But honestly, when it comes to this topic, there's just not one story. I have so many examples. I know all too well that feeling of the cycle of rage boiling over, followed by guilt and regret. From the time I ripped up my son's sticker chart in frustration when he refused to go to bed, to the time I found myself screaming at equal volume to his tantrum. I could go on and on with my examples. And the thing is, as single parents, there is so much that we do that is unseen. And no one else is there in those particularly challenging times to tap in when you have just had enough and you need a breather. It can be so easy to feel shame and guilt and not even wanting to utter to others the levels you have found your rage and anger bubble over to. But I'm here to tell you that I can guarantee you that you are not the only one who struggles with this. Just because no one else sees it does not mean others are going through the same thing. It's completely normal, and it does not make you a bad person or a bad parent. What I've learned over time is to use these outbursts of anger and rage as signals to step back, zoom out, and really look at what is going on beneath the surface. I no longer let guilt flood me. Instead, I approach these moments with curiosity and compassion and view them with opportunities for learning. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through today. How to turn these moments of anger into moments of growth. First of all, to understand anger and rage, we need to recognise what's going on in our heads and what drives these feelings. At its core, anger often arises from unmet needs. Anger is a natural defense mechanism, our brain's way of protecting us. It evolved to respond to physical threats like predators, but today the threats we face are more likely emotional or social, such as being treated unfairly, feeling ignored, or having an important need unmet. For example, if we feel disrespected or unheard, our brain can perceive this as a threat to our sense of safety or worth, triggering anger. This response begins in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. The amygdala will scan for potential threats and, when triggered, activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. It releases stress hormones like adrenaline to prepare us to react. And while this can be so helpful in truly dangerous situations, it can also overwhelm us when dealing with everyday challenges. But here's the thing. The amygdala doesn't process logic. That's the role of the prefrontal cortex, which helps us think rationally, stay calm, and manage our impulses. When anger takes over, the amygdala disconnects us from the prefrontal cortex, making it difficult to think clearly or respond calmly. And this is why we might lash out, shout, or behave in ways that we regret when we are angry. The great thing about anger is once we understand what is going on, we can start to recognise when it comes up and use it as a signal that there is something off kilter in our lives. I have an unmet need and I need to figure out what this is. Anger is always just masking other emotions like guilt, shame, unworthiness. And once you can start to understand this, you can start to welcome the feeling of anger with curiosity and start taking action. I know this concept can feel challenging, especially if you've been taught to see anger as something negative, but approaching anger with this curiosity can help you better understand yourself and your needs. To help you develop this practice of being curious about your anger and understanding what's behind it, I'm going to talk you through an exercise that can help. What I want you to do is think about the last time you felt guilty or ashamed of how you would let your anger and rage take over. And ask yourself the following questions. How did I react? What thoughts were running through my mind at the time? If my anger could talk, what would it say it's trying to protect me from or tell me? By asking yourself these questions and doing some exploring, you can help understand what led to that anger. What are the feelings behind and underneath that anger? What are your needs that are not being met? And it is worth noting that how we experience and express anger can be shaped by our cultural background and personal experience. And reflecting on these influences can help you better understand your relationship with anger. Now that we truly understand the factors that can lead us to those outbursts, I'm going to talk about ways you can prevent feelings of anger and rage bubbling over, leaving you feeling riddled with regret and guilt. One key thing you can start to do is become aware of the signs. Start to notice how anger feels in your body. And when you feel it rising, look around at the environment or thoughts in your head and see what could be fueling this feeling. When you start to do this, you can take the steps to diffuse the situation before it blows out of control. For me, I always get an itchy nose when I get irritated by my son ignoring any sense of boundary. I now know when this happens, I need to quickly adjust what we're doing so that I can get some space from him. And if this means TV goes on for 10 minutes, that is fine because I need that 10 minutes to get the physical space that I need to regulate myself. Another thing is recognizing patterns. Think about the times that you've acted in a less than ideal way when you were angry. Is there a common theme between these times? It could be always on a Saturday morning when you're trying to herd your family out the door for a day out. What is happening for you in that moment? Is a need not being met, a boundary being crossed, or a sense of control gone? What can you do to prevent that feeling arising again? For me, it was always the mornings when I did not manage to get myself up and showered before my son got up. I would be trying to shower and have my son bothering me in the background and would get so angry that I could not get my basic need of washing myself met. Once I realised this pattern, I made sure to get up before my son, and if I didn't manage to, I would at least have the awareness of what was behind the feelings of anger, which helped me manage the situation better. You can also practice slow breathing. This one sounds so simple, but honestly, it really is so effective. Breathing in for 4 seconds, deep into your belly, and out for 6 seconds. And 6 rounds of this will take you to 1 minute and can really help you regulate your body's state. For me, it took time to build this habit because I found that when I became angry, all logic went out the window. So stopping to breathe did not seem like a good idea. But the more you practice this, the more value you will see from this one. So don't give up if it doesn't work on the first go. Another strategy for reducing these rage outbursts is expressing your feelings. As single parents, this can be a really hard one because a lot of the time there is no one physically around to share our feelings with. But that doesn't mean you can't send a message, voice note, or have a quick call with someone to express how you are feeling. Doing this can help you get some sense of the situation as you articulate it and gain a clearer perspective of the true issue at hand. And this strategy isn't one that you would directly think would be hand in hand with when it comes to rage and anger, but this is all about looking at things you can put in place to reduce your anger. So I want to talk about reducing screen time. If you are someone who could have had the best day in the world with your kids, only to have it ruined the minute you open your social media to see images that send you into a spin of bitter anger and jealousy, then be mindful of your phone usage. And I know this is said all the time these days, but for single parents, this really is important. Begin to recognise how you feel before and after you are scrolling on your phone. If it's impacting you negatively, perhaps it's time to unfollow some people who trigger that feeling. And also look at what is behind that feeling. Is it really that you are jealous? Or perhaps is it that you are sad because you are not in a nuclear family unit that was presented to you time and time again when you scrolled social media? And maybe you need to do some work accepting your own situation so you are not comparing yourself to others. And if social media does feel you leaving drained or comparing yourself to others, it might be time to reassess how you are using it altogether. However, I do also want to say that social media can be a source of connection and support. Focus on curating your feed that reflects positive single parent stories and uplifting content that lifts your moods rather than making you feeling bad about yourself. And I cannot talk about strategies for overcoming rage and anger without talking about self-care. I really don't think there is one bit of advice for single parents out there that doesn't include the importance of self-care. If you want to bring some more regular calm and emotional stability to your day-to-day, self-care really is key. Make sure whatever self-care means to you, be it an intense early morning workout while the kids are asleep or 5 minutes reading before bed, make sure that this is a non-negotiable for you. I say this time and time again, self-care is not selfish. It is essential for you to be able to show up as the best version of you. And when you care for yourself, notice how that feels to the way you parent. So these are just some of the strategies that can help you reducing feelings of anger and rage. So becoming aware of the signs, recognizing your patterns, practicing slow breathing, expressing your feelings with others, reducing your screen time, practicing self-care. These are all strategies that can help. But what I want to say is that different strategies work for different people. So don't worry if one approach doesn't resonate with you. What is key is finding out what feels right for you and your unique situation. We have learned some strategies to prevent feelings of anger taking over. But let's be honest, there may be times that no matter how hard we try, anger will make us act in ways that we regret. So I want to share with you what to do when this does happen and how to learn from it and move on rather than feeling like you are the worst person in the world. First thing I want you to do is take time to re-regulate yourself. Now, this may not be immediately after the fact, but as soon as you can take a moment to yourself to breathe in and out and slowly calm your nervous system down, do this. And then I want you to monitor and challenge your inner critic. Once you're in a calmer space, start to notice your thoughts and challenge them. Are you saying I'm a terrible parent and I always lose my cool? Is this true? Or is this just a particularly large bump in the road today? Do not let that voice in your head lose the run of itself. Catch the thoughts and take the time to examine them for any truth and evidence. Ask, would a friend think that was true? What evidence is there to contradict this? And then learn from the experience. Rather than just waiting for the next incident to occur, stop and understand what led you to this point. What were the triggers and what can you do to prevent this happening again? And please be kind to yourself. Practice self-compassion. Now, I know how hard this can be, especially after you feel like you've let yourself and your kids down. But from regulating yourself and challenging your thoughts, you can also put yourself in a more nurturing headspace for yourself. Remind yourself that yes, this is actually hard and you are doing an amazing job. And lastly, apologize. Be the bigger person, be open and honest, and express that yes, your behaviour was not how you wanted it to be, but you are sorry. There are going to be times where our anger, despite all our best efforts, will take over. Next time, you are now equipped with what to do afterwards, and that is take time to regulate yourself, monitor and challenge your inner critic, learn from that experience, be kind to yourself, and apologise. I want you to know that these bumps will happen and that is okay. What is important is how we react and learn from these bumps. If you are someone who likes affirmations and is struggling with anger, let me share my anger affirmations with you. 1. I am learning to understand my emotions and respond with care. This is great, especially after you've had an outburst that you are feeling extremely guilty about. 2. I'm grateful for the lessons anger has taught me. This is great for encouraging you to keep on learning from your anger. And finally, I can feel my anger and still stay in control. This is a great one when anger feels like it's about to boil over and gives you a sense of control in the moment. We've covered a lot today, from understanding what's going on in your head when anger is happening, how to explore your own anger, strategies to help reduce and manage your anger, and then finally what to actually do when anger takes over and how to re-regulate yourself again. Anger is often misunderstood, but as we've explored today, it's not something to fear or suppress. It is a signal. It's your mind and body's way of telling you that something isn't right, that a need is going unmet, or that a boundary has been crossed. By understanding what's happening in your head during these moments of anger, recognizing the patterns and triggers in your life, and practicing strategies to manage these feelings, you can turn anger into a tool for growth rather than a source of guilt or regret. The next time anger arises, take a moment to pause and reflect on what it's trying to tell you. It's not about being perfect or never feeling angry again. It's about learning to use those moments as opportunities to make positive changes and meet your needs in a healthier way. You are doing the absolute best that you can, and every step you take towards understanding and managing your emotions is a step towards creating a calmer and more fulfilling life for you and your family. What one thing stood out for you the most in today's episode that you're going to take forward into this week? I would love to hear what is the one change you're going to make this week after listening to today's episode. Please share with me on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Single Parent Reset. You have taken 15 minutes out of your day to do something for you, and that alone is a step in the right direction towards living a life you deserve. In next week's episode, we're going to be talking all about your inner critic and learning how to turn down the volume on your inner critic and turn up the volume on your inner cheerleader. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, please go to my website solaccoaching.com for further details. And don't forget to follow my Instagram page @solacecoaching for more insightful content on living a life to be proud of as a single parent. As always, if you find this episode useful, please share with your friends and family. And remember, many single parents may seem like they have it all together, but this could be exactly what they need to help them move forward today.